Awesome. All right. So welcome and thank you for joining us and participating in the career webinar from the Lighthouse for the Blind. My name is Cheryl Cumings. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Workforce Development Manager here at the Lighthouse. I'm a Black American woman who is blind. Today, our panelists are three professionals who work at community organizations that assist people with disabilities to start and manage their businesses. Our panelists will introduce themselves in just a moment. I also would like to let you know that there are also two ASL interpreters who are on screen and will spotlight themselves throughout the webinar. Captions are also turned on and available. I also want to recognize our moderator host, Elena. Elena will let us know if there are any raised hands or any questions. This is part of a series of webinars for people who are blind or low vision, deaf blind, or blind with other disabilities. The purpose of these webinars is to provide you with tools and resources which you can use to actively chart your career exploration and development. Each month, we focus on different topics, such as tools to write a resume, the role of using assistive technology in your job search, networking, interviewing, and self-employment. Look for future webinars, and please do join us. So to get us started, I am going to invite our panelists to introduce themselves. First, can you just tell us, of course, your name, your title, and the name of your company, and whatever other information you'd like to share with us. So, Aarti, would you like to, would you start?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Cheryl. Pleasure to be here today. My name is Aarti Sahgal. I'm the founder and CEO of Synergies Work and Synergies Seed Fund. Synergies Work is an well, we're building an ecosystem, I can say, providing accelerator services for small business owners, and Synergies Seed Fund is the first CDFI to provide loans to small business owners with disabilities. I am an Asian woman, and from my Georgia accent, you can see I am a native of Georgia. So there I am. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Nikki?
Yes, hello. It's lovely to be here. My name's Nikkie Powis. I am the director of our small business programs at the National Disability Institute. NDI has been around for about 20 years, and if you're not familiar with it, they do a lot of advocacy, a lot of financial empowerment work, and more recently, some support of small businesses. So I am a white woman with glasses, long hair, and my pronouns are she, her also. And thanks for inviting us to be here, Cheryl.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're here. We have one more guest, Santiago. Did he make it?
Here.
Oh,
Hi everyone.
marvelous. Hello.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. I'm Santiago Garcia. I'm the program director at Together International. And we are the largest accelerator for disabled tech founders. It's very honored to be here. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm a Latino man in my mid 30s. Have black hair, say gray nowadays, more than black. I have a beard. I'm wearing a white t-shirt. My pronouns are him, his.
All right. Thank you all. I am so excited. I'm so looking forward to our conversation this afternoon. So, before we do that, I just want to say that this is the final session of a three-part series of workshops on self-employment that we did starting in January. In session one, we had 3 business owners who are blind or low vision, who shared their experiences of starting and running a business. In session 2, there were 2 professionals or 2 representatives from vocational rehabilitation agencies who talked about the type of assistance that VR agencies offer individuals who have identified self-employment as sort of their employment goal. Today, so I'm sorry, let me say this. Both of these webinars are available on the Lighthouse's YouTube channel, and you can certainly go to YouTube and look it up. That the address to get there is www.youtube.com/users/Seattle Lighthouse. But today, as I said, we've got these 3 marvelous people who are here to share information about their organizations with us. So let's get started. I'm going to go back to you, or start with our panelists and ask you if you could tell us a little bit about the origin story of your organization. If you want to take, 2-3 minutes to talk about that, that would be really fantastic. So if you could tell us a little bit about what led to the creation of your organization. And we'll start with Santiago, then Nikki, and then Aarti.
Sure. Thanks, Cheryl. So Together International is the largest accelerator for disabled founders. It's been around for over a decade. It was funded by Diego Mariscal, who's our CEO and founder of Together. Diego was actually born in the US by accident, as he always tells the story. His parents were Mexican, are Mexican, and were shopping in the US. And he grew up in Monterrey later, having suffered cerebral palsy when he was born. And he was surrounded by the entrepreneurial world of Monterrey, that is like the Silicon Valley of Mexico. And over the years, Diego realized that there is all these people that were, coming out as disabled when they're already rich and famous. And that's when he started really thinking about redefining how people think about disability and showing the competitive advantage of disabled people in the entrepreneurial scape, more specifically in the startup space. So that's how Together International was created. And nowadays we run different programs for disabled folks on their entrepreneurial journey, whether it's a very early stage, whether it's at a traction stage, so we accelerate their startups, or different programs within different stages of their entrepreneurial journey. And we have so far supported over 600 founders that have collectively raised $70 million in funding, revenue, and other sorts of investments. And super proud of the work that we do. We have a very exciting year ahead where we are looking at supporting double the amount of founders we have supported in the last decade. So we were looking at supporting 600 folks this year in different regions and in different stages of the startup. So super excited to be here.
So Nikki?
Yeah, so National Disability Institute is a national nonprofit organization that was started by a person called Michael Morris 20 years ago. And predominantly it was begun because he recognized that within the sort of financial landscape, access to capital, financial products, things like that, it appeared that folks with disabilities were not given equal access or equal understanding and of financial empowerment, financial health. So that's how NDI started. And we still have very much got a lot of programs that really focus on financial literacy, financial empowerment. But then we also have an employment side and now our self-employment side. So that's a little bit about NDI.
Thank you. All right. Aarti.
So I'm the newbie on the block. Okay, and to take a dig at Santiago, I'm not in 30s, but like to believe that I'm still in 30s. We are very 6 years into this space. I started this work because I'm a parent and I have a young son. My youngest son has Down syndrome. For the past 20 years or so, I have been uh, wrapping my head around why is there two different worlds that exist amongst us, one for people with disabilities and one for people without disabilities. And it is this quest that has made me work initially with the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities and talk about inclusive workforce strategies. And then 6 years back, my oldest son did his first startup, and it made me pause and think if he has that choice, and we use the word choice so loosely in our disability world, but yet there is no choices when it comes to employment. They are decided by the diagnosis, and the opportunities are limited. And that's what got me to go to I'm based in Atlanta, so to the Atlanta startup world and say, hey, can we just partner? And there are thousands of accelerators in the country. And maybe we can find one partner who would be willing to open its doors intentionally and welcome folks with disabilities. And I was literally shown the door. And it was that stubbornness that made me decide, okay, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's how Synergy's work was born. And as the name stands, it's all about building synergies. How do we close the gap that exists between the disability community and the business community? That, in a nutshell, is what we are trying to do. And that's how the ecosystem that I talked about is what we have created in the past 6 years. We provide supports to entrepreneurs with disabilities, whether they are starting their businesses or as they're scaling it. We realize that access to knowledge that is might be accessible to everybody, whether it is through SBDCs or other organizations, support organizations, is not so easily available to folks with disabilities. And then we do know that there is an opportunity for people with disabilities who have higher health concerns and more supports to fall through the cracks. So while they have a tendency to start new businesses, they also have a greater tendency to fail. So we have created the first of its kind community hub, or a digital platform that allows folks to do peer-to-peer networking. That is the strength, which because we believe that there are so many assets and so much talent that they need to talk to each other and learn from each other. And finally, to close the financial gap, we launched the CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, in September last year to provide small business loans. So that's what I do. And I believe that somebody asked me earlier today, what's the vision? The vision is that there should not be organizations like ours in a perfect world. There should not be any place for us.
Wow, thank you so much. So my next question sort of asks ask you all to talk a little more specifically about services and programs. And Aarti, since you started to sort of go down that road a little bit, could you continue telling us a little more in a little more details, like what services and programs you offer?
Yeah, so we have learned through trial over the past 6 years. We run a program called Igniting Ideas, which is for aspiring founders, people who have ideas but don't know how to go forward with that idea, probably start selling their products and services at farmers markets or to the friends, families, and fools, as we say,
Right.
but real or to disability organizations. That's where they are doing it, but that's not, I believe, the real test of the business. How do you take it and scale it? It's a 3-month program. Currently, we are accepting applications for the Igniting Idea programs, which kicks off on April 1st. It is run by 2 coaches. As I said, we do everything is done virtually. We do provide peer one-on-one support. It's a pretty intensive program. You learn and you apply and you come back, you'll rinse and repeat this till it becomes an integral part of how you think. Because if you change your thinking, you change how you behave, and you change your outcomes. That's the crux of the programming. Most of the founders that we have, everybody has to be a person with a disability to be part of our programming. It is not open to people who do not have a disability. But currently, actually, we've had applications now this year from our other folks also who want to join, not necessarily there. So we'll see what happens. But after the 3 months program, everybody has access to the community hub, which is the resource hub. And then we do one-on-one supports even after everybody has moved out of the accelerator program. What else can we do? There are mentorships that are provided to the founders. And then, as I said, there is the financial piece that you can apply for a loan as you see fit. It's open to everybody. And I know there was a question somebody asked.
Oh, we'll come to those in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Elena's in charge of questions, so that's okay. Santiago, what about you? I mean, you started telling us about, the focus on tech startups for people led by people with disabilities. So can you share maybe a little more details on what types of services or programs people access through your organization through Together International?
Sure, that makes sense, and it's very similar to the work that in certain aspects that Aarti is doing. We have several type of accelerators for disabled founders, and some of them are, I can see a very good friend of ours, Nikki, they call that. Some of them are also supported by NDI. We're building them in partnership with them. So this year we're gonna have 3 accelerators. One of them is a health equity accelerator, which for which one we just closed the applications, and we had over 100 applicants, which I echo what Aarti was saying, that in the ideal world we shouldn't have this kind of differentiation programs, but it still makes us very proud that even though we're working towards building a more equal world, we still see a lot of traction on our programs. We're gonna select for that one, out of the 100 applicants, 15 startups led by disabled people to take over the 10-week cohort that starts on March 31st and finishes on June the 6th with a pitch competition. And then we've got a similar accelerator for the summer cohort, which very similar to the one starting now for 10 weeks, but it's not I would say that it's agnostic, so it doesn't have like a very specific theme. So we're just doing a very generic tech startup accelerator. And we've got another one at the end of the year where we also going to be accepting anywhere between 10 to 20 startups starting on October. So those are the three main pillars of supporting startup founders with our 3 accelerators, one starting now, the other one in summer, and the other one in fall. Then we've got Venture Labs, that is a pre-accelerator program that we will actually change a little bit the way that it's taken. So we will make it open source for everyone. So anyone who's disabled and who wants to start a startup business and they have a startup idea, we help them validate the idea throughout 4 weeks of learning. And we're launching that in April, which is very exciting because we've supported so far 120 startup founders or wannabe founders. And the third pillar of work is our apprenticeship program that has already been launched and is also on our website. That is, we like to say that it's a full circle of the entrepreneurial journey, because that program is for disabled folks that, we like to call them want to be entrepreneurs, because they're not on that stage yet, but they're interested about the space. So we offer them the possibility to get a paid apprentices in an already established startup. We do that entire process for them. And they work for a startup and they learn basic and fundamentals about the startup world. So they have a curriculum that has been approved by the Department of Labor. And then they do these apprenticeships at startups. So they get the fundamentals to learn about the entrepreneurial tech-driven ecosystem. So those are the three main ways of supporting startups, founders that we've got right now.
Awesome. So if we could pretend for a second that I have no concept of what exactly an accelerator class or program is, could you give me an example? So let's say I make it into the health and equity program for 10 weeks. What am I doing there?
Love that, Sherry. That's a really good question. So I come from the startup world. So I'm a startup founder, and the program that we build is what probably, we as the people that are teaching the class are what we always dreamt of. So this is a 10-week class that is focused on three main pillars. So there's a technical side, there's a community side, and there's I would say like a speaker side. So the technical side is we teach fundamentals on how to scale your idea or your business. So it goes all the way from raising capital to like, building that customer machine, we call it. So getting more customers, how to build a startup, in terms of value, team, how to work as a disabled entrepreneur in the startup space. So we teach startup founders on all these fundamentals to get their startup to the next level. That's the theoretical side. The community side is a weekly meeting that we've got with all of our cohort where they exchange ideas and they take that to the practice. So what they've learned on the theory class, they do that on a community session. And at the end of each week, we have a special guest speaker that is an expert on the topic that really goes through what's the personal experience. Ideally, those guest speakers are from our own community, so they're together international alum, so they can speak on their own kind of like words, what they've been through and what they've experienced in that specific topic. So
Okay.
basically, at the end of those 10 weeks, they're ready to pitch their ideas to investors, and they've gone through a 10-week class
No, no,
that
no.
will help them scale their business.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
No
Um,
worries.
no, I appreciate that. I think that's pretty awesome and definitely sort of breaks down the concept of what's going on when you hear people talking about accelerator programs. Um, so Nikki, what about your organization? This might be, I know you guys do a lot. So,
Yeah, we kind of do. And we work, also with Synergy's work. It's a great name because Synergies absolutely do work and we have to work together.
right.
And, what things that we can't do, Aarti can offer, and Santiago through 2GI, they do things like that too. But I'll sort of give you a little bit of a story. So we were asked a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago now, to do some research on disability-owned businesses. We were asked by a major global financial bank, actually. They wanted to know whether or not they should invest in helping founders with disabilities. Was there a need? Did they exist? And of course, we said absolutely, absolutely, but we had to do that research. So we interviewed multiple small businesses that were owned by people with disabilities. We talked to service providers. We talked to vocational rehabilitation. We talked to accelerator programs, all kinds of things. And really, it was for this report, right? But what we found was, oh my gosh, just like Aarti found when she was working with her son, there is such a huge gap and a huge need for different services that unfortunately traditional entrepreneurial ecosystems providers are not terribly disability informed, or they're not accessible. And so we said, we got to try and take this on. So we had a grant through the Small Business Administration, and we ran that for a couple of years. And then based on everything we learned from that, which was direct services and helping people from idea all the way through scaling multi-million dollar businesses. So then from that, we're able to more recently get a federal grant through the Rehab Services Administration. So our current project, the biggest project that we have a couple of others, but is working with any founder, really anywhere in the country, or any person, any entrepreneur, I should say. It doesn't have to be a founder. They don't have to have a business. Doesn't matter what kind of disability they have, doesn't matter how old they are. None of that matters. They just have to have a disability and have an idea or a concept or a business. And so they can come to us with that initial sparking idea. They can come to us with already an established business and they're needing to scale. They can come to us like some people do who have a business and they didn't know how to administer that business. So maybe they're in a mess with their taxes, or, maybe their customer base isn't where it needs to be, or they don't know how to market themselves. And so we offer a lot of those things. So we do partner with many other organizations. So it might be that we might say, hey, Aarti's got something open right now. Go join their networking session. We also do partner, like San Diego said, if we have a tech business that could benefit from their program. But we also have people that are part of our grant who offer tax support, who offer basic things like feasibility of a business planning, things like what happens to my benefits if I'm on SSI or SSDI and I open a business, or I start making revenue, or I have business assets. What type of business structure should I start? We also have someone who helps with marketing and branding of a business, logo design, getting branding, color schemes, all kinds of things like that. So I feel like we're kind of a good place to start. And then we can sort of figure out where that journey needs to take you. And it might be to go to San Diego. It might be to go to Aarti. And certainly those communities, like Aarti described with their online community, is something that we found is so incredibly valuable, because people want to talk to others who have been there, done that, have that journey, and leverage each other's expertise and have that community and camaraderie. So that's a wonderful thing as well.
Oh, thank you so much. In Santiago, I don't know, as you were speaking, I was not disagreeing. Somebody walked into the office and I was trying to tell them they didn't need to do anything at present.
No
But
worries. I realize that. Yeah, no
yeah.
worries.
Because like,
It's
oops, I just realized I wasn't muted there. Um,
good.
but this is really fantastic. Again, I can't quite explain how excited I am that you're all three here. But I'm going to pause because it sounds like there might already be questions, and invite our attendees to raise their hand if they have a question. And yeah, let's ask our panelists, because I mean, the work that you're all doing is so necessary and so useful. So, Elena, do we have any questions or any raised
Yes, we
hands?
had one in the chat. Um, are these programs relegated to disabled people in their respective states?
Huh. So, Nikki, do you want to actually Nikki and then
I
Santiago?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure I understand that, but we're national, so most of our programs are done virtually. We do have another program that is just centered in Maryland, that we do have some in-person stuff, but that's only in Maryland, and it's for um, innovation and things like that. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. If that was the question, I'm not sure if I'm answering it properly.
No. And
Same. Yeah.
Santiago? Oh, or Aarti, are you?
But
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say the same for us. It's a national program. It's all done
Yeah.
virtually.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, ours as well, and it's actually international because it's all done online. So anyone can sign up from any part of the world, and the apprenticeship program is actually across all of the US as well. So yeah, it's quite like Aarti's and Nikkie's.
So, all right. Elena, do we have any raised hands or any additional questions?
I don't see a raised hand, but there was a follow-up question from Nikki Leathers asking, so if I'm understanding this right, it's just the same for all areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's right.
And that was
Yeah.
the only question.
So I think you all sort of touched on this a little bit, but if we could maybe delve in just a little more. So, say I'm at that point where maybe I've got an idea and I'm just like getting started. So I don't know, I've created my entity, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I come to your organization. Um, eh, where would you suggest I start? Um, Nikki, do you want to go first? Because you all have so many like fantastic services. Um, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, ours is our one main program is federally funded, so there are things that we have to collect because, demographic information. So you would start with an intake, and we would gather some demographic information that we are required to collect. And then we would just have a chat. We'd have a conversation. We'd find out where you are, what have you been doing, what your needs are, where the gaps are in your community, what have you found, what's your experience been, and then we just kind of take it from there. It's very individualized. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different story, a different journey, a different industry. They're at a different place. Um, I'm thrilled that Aarti started a CDFI because one of the things that's really hard is access to capital. And so a lot of people come to us looking for funding. And oftentimes, traditional financial institutions are not the helpful way to go. It is those community development financial institutions that offer so much more as well. So, it might be funding. It's an individualized journey. It's whatever it is that you need that we can support you with. And if we can't do it ourselves, we'll find somebody that can.
Nice. Thank you. So, Artie, could you actually talk a little more about the seed fund that you offer, that you oversee?
Yeah, this is a rising CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. They were started largely to provide funding and financial support to the underserved community. Interestingly, I didn't know this, that there wasn't any CDFI in the country targeting small business owners with disabilities till we got into this business of setting up a CDFI. So yes, if you are a business owner and looking to get uh, find startup loans or emergency loans or just something else for working capital loan from zero to from a small amount to $30,000. You can apply for the loan. What we are looking for is not the credit score of the business owner, but what we are looking for is it's a character-based lending process. So what is the efficacy of the business? How well you have structured it? How well you're going to be supported in returning the loans? We do provide wraparound services, and that is where it has come after the accelerator incubator programs in case you need that support to build a strong and a more viable business plan. Then you can go back to Synergy's work and apply in the accelerator and build it up, or to any other. It doesn't have to be Synergy's work wherever you go. So you can apply that. And we do, once you've made an online application, we have an interview process. There is a review committee that works with you hand in hand to ensure that everything is in order. And that's how the loan process begins from there. The interest rate is very competitive. I know many people who have low credit scores do not qualify for the traditional banks or even an SBA loan. Ours is a very nominal fixed rate, supporting the business owner to build their credit scores and repay the loans to grow their businesses. We do realize that this is the last resort for many of the small business owners to build their credit scores. And that's what we are here doing. We are very new at this time. This is going to be our first year of providing um, loans to this population.
Oh, awesome. So, Santiago, I think you talked a little bit about this, but it won't hurt us to hear it again. But, so, if I'm just starting off, sort of, where would you direct me if I came to your organization?
No, that's a wonderful question, Cheryl. I'd love to hear that question because I think that's um I always talk about this, as a startup founder back in the day myself. Like, there's no right way to do it. There's no school where you can go, and there's no path that you can follow. Like every single path is so different and it's so biased, whatever you hear. So like I think that's such a phenomenal question. So for me, the answer is community. So we've got a community space, so the very first place where I would recommend anyone to start is where you can be comfortable to ask any questions, and there are no wrong questions, as we say, no dumb questions. So we encourage people to join our community platform. We've also started again doing some meetups and events that we'll be advertising on our LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So on social media, folks will be able to see what kind of online events we're gonna be launching. Because the very first step for me as someone that has been on that path is to not be scared of starting something new, not be scared of maybe failing or maybe not failing, but not be stop being scared. So I think that's the number one step that I encourage everyone to take. So by being in community, that's a very good place where to start. Then we've got obviously our program Venture Labs, which is great for people that that have already been immersed in the community. They've asked the right questions, they connected with people, and then they can take over that 4-week course where they can validate their ideas. So for me, the right path for anyone that would like to start on their entrepreneurial journey with us, that would be probably the first steps.
Nice, thank you. So your response is sort of leading me to think about two things, but I really want to also just touch on this one. So if I'm a more sort of established organization, like what are you offering, Santiago, that you would say, okay, start here? So, I've been around, I've got my organization, and I'm just at that point where I'm like, I need to like do something else, right? Need to scale somehow, grow, but I'm just not sure how to do that. Um,
That's fabulous. That's a really good question. So I think that I would still encourage anyone in any of the stage of the entrepreneurial journey to
mhm.
connect with the community. And for those that are a little bit more advanced, I would say that it's more about mental wellness, mental health. Because like the journey of building something by yourself is a very solitary journey. So that could end up sometimes to like mental exhaustion, to a lot of like burnout. So still for those folks that are still, on the scaling side, I would recommend them to, join a community or any community. Truly, frankly speaking, I think it's all about, having those peers that you can talk from peer to peer, and then you have the same pain points, you have the same experience, the same. So community is always a really good place. Now, if you're looking for more like technical resources, connections, funding capital and that sort of things, our accelerator programs are a really good place where to explore them. So usually we launch the applications 3 months before the cohort starts. So they're open for anyone to join, and then we'll review those on an application basis. And I think that that's a really good place because like sometimes when you're building something, it's all about hearing other, not kind of like, sinking your in your own thoughts, getting openly open questions, connect with people, ask them if you're going in the right direction. So there's a lot of like community on even building a startup that is like seems to be like a very solitary solo journey, even if you have a co-founder. I think the accelerator really helps you to get connections and ask those right questions. So we have like a very community driven perspective to our accelerator as well. That's when it comes to Together International. I'm sure that Nikki and Aarti also have like some phenomenal options for folks out there, because I don't want to only tell them to go to 2GI, but when it comes to Together International, that's the first thing that I'm thinking of.
No, that's excellent. Actually, and I was going to invite Aarti and then Nikki to talk about um, you know, what additional services or what would you recommend for somebody who's seeking services from you who is maybe a little more established? And also, if you could talk a little bit about the community aspect of the work that you do.
First of all, I agree with Santiago on that. The
Yeah.
community piece is important. If someone was to come to us, we always tell them to go to the community hub, ask your questions, because
Okay.
one of the things that we hear all the time is, I don't know, there were so many other folks like me also in the same space. So that is really important, because entrepreneurship is really a team sport. It is not a one person show, as many people think it is. The second question is, I tend to push back on saying, what do you mean when you are growing? When you feel that you have really been like, I am ready to scale and I'm in a very comfortable position as a founder,
Mhm.
any business between 1 to 5 years is really still growing and is still very vulnerable to uh, failure.
Okay.
And in fact, majority of the businesses fail in the first 2 years. And I believe that one of the biggest reasons for failure of small businesses or any business is that we fall in love with our own ideas. We think that our idea is the best idea. So customer discovery and validating that and building that distance between the love for your idea and what the market is really ready to buy and pay for your idea might be two different things. So that is critical. And that is where the support of having that team around you that will give you the precise scientific way of validating that idea is important. So yes, that's, I think, is the most important thing to do, because first 5 years are critical for any business to become sustainable.
Wow.
And and that's where I think the concept of the community hub for us has been very important, because there are also times when which are very unique and might not be so unique to the disability community, that there are a lot more stresses that an individual might face, health concerns, and they are not able to work for a couple of months. So what happens to the business? Where do I come? Where is my safety net? Where do I fall and where I can bounce back again? And that's where the community hub is, in my opinion, has been very beneficial.
Thank you.
So that's what I would like to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Nikki?
Yeah, I would agree both with Aarti and Santiago, and I would go back also to the fact that it is so individualized. We have some people that come to us and they're trying to scale because they have a product or something that has demand, and the demand is greater than they're able to supply. And so they have the ability to grow, but they don't know how. Like, they've gone from, I'm doing this in my garage or at a little office space down the road, to, oh my gosh, now I have a Target contract and that is absolutely amazing, but I need to produce that many things. And so a lot of times that's, kind of, we've had experience with that where people really need to manufacture. They need, where do I go to manufacture? Where do I go to prototype something? Where do I go to test things out? Or if I am growing and I'm meeting the need. Somebody recently came to us and they did have a Target did want to buy their stuff. And it
Wow.
was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? So then you have to explore the manufacturing aspect of it, and it's not, you can't do it yourself anymore. And hiring, that means you're going to have to take on people, and there's that sort of tippy top area, that what is that thing, or teeter totter, that's what I was trying to think of, where it's like, I don't really have enough money to hire someone, but I'm not going to make any more money if I don't hire someone, because I can't do it all myself. And so exploring what does that look like, and how do you do those sorts of things. So really it just honestly depends on what the person needs, but oftentimes it is the community that can help you out as well, because they've been there, done that, know how to do it. And you can learn from others too. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to pause again and invite folks to ask questions. And Elena, are there any questions written down or any raised hands?
There have been some in the chat that I think have already been answered.
Okay.
Most recent is asking if there will be a link to the recording after.
Yes. Yeah. As soon as it's up on YouTube, we'll send out the link to everybody who registered, and yeah, you'll get a link. All right. Is that it? Or any other raised hands or
I do not see any hands raised.
okay. All right. So yeah,
Oh,
this is
we just
oops.
had one second.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Ashley, you're unmuted. If you could also unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm here. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sometimes this microphone is not the greatest, the built-in mic. But anyway, thank you for presenting, everyone. Yeah, eventually I might try self-employment. Right now. I think more secure job might be for me to be employed by someone else. I love writing though, so maybe I would do that someday. But anyway, um, I guess my question would be, um, if somebody's self-employed, and I don't think you've covered this, but anyway, it's if someone is self-employed, especially as a person with a disability, two big concerns I have and questions would be, one being, um, how would you find affordable insurance? Because if you're making income, you're not going to, you're probably not qualified for Medicare or Medicaid anymore. Um, but yeah, it's might be a little challenging to afford private insurance. So I'm wondering if there's any insurance plans out there geared toward maybe self-employed people that I don't know of. Secondly, how do you handle the aspect of your accommodations, because self-employed is just that you don't go to your employer and say, I need you to buy a braille embosser or something like that, which would be, in my case, I'd probably want a braille embosser as an example. So I was just wondering, toward that end, are there any programs for insurance and any programs like grants or something to um help you with buying the assistive technology and accommodations you might need as that one employee, that one man band business, that if you had one. Thank you. Hope that made sense.
Awesome questions. Who on the panel can answer?
I can go and make an attempt at it, and I'm sure both Nikki and Santiago can add to that. So what you are asking are as a simple question. One, what is going to be my startup cost? That is where the assistive technology cost is coming. How much will I have to spend to start my business? And the second question is, I think, related to when I make an income, which is different from revenue. When I make an income, will it impact my benefits? And therefore, I will have to go and search for a different health insurance plan. Am I summarizing the questions correct? Ashley?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. How would you go about finding other sources of things like technology or auxiliary aids to make your own workplace and yeah, the insurance as well. I would assume
Yeah.
that employee would go to the private sector, but you can let me know. Thank you. Yeah.
So here is to answer the first question, like any other business owner, whether you are disabled or non-disabled, all of us have to build a resource plan. And there are steps towards doing that to understand what are the resources that I have, what are the resources that I need, where are the resources that I can buy or I can borrow. Okay, that's the basics of building a resource plan. And there is a method to that madness behind it. So there is a whole structure that you have to start. It is not that I go in tomorrow and I say, hey, I'm going to open as somebody said, a laundromat. And okay, to open that, I need a space, I need some XYZ components to open that. And similarly for you, when you are setting up your business, I need XY kind of technology. Where can I get it? Where I can borrow it? Where who will lend me? Or how much will I invest? That's the building of a resource plan. And secondly, from day one, whatever revenue that you make does not constitute towards your income, which will impact your benefits. So to answer that question, I don't want to get onto that on this webinar. However, on April 3rd, we are hosting a stable accounts, which is part of the able accounts where you can save your money by the leadership there. There is a free webinar for founders with disabilities and how this can be leveraged. And there are ways on which I'm sure Nikki and Santiago would be able to help you and tell you more about it, or you can reach out later and we can help you work through that. Where when is it that your income that you make will impact your health benefits? It's not on day one because that revenue does not count towards income.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would echo mostly what Aarti said. That is something that we do offer as well as benefit planning. So it's critical. I recommend that anybody that's thinking about whether they're just going to work or they're starting a business, they really totally understand what is going to happen to those benefits at what point, and also be really well informed on the different incentives that will sort of set aside some of those funds so that it doesn't count as income. If you need to spend money on a certain product or service or something in order for you to be able to work, then that sort of takes away from some of the money that you're earning, like Aarti, it's very complicated. I'm not going to go into a whole ticket to work benefit planning thing here, but it takes quite a bit actually to lose your Medicaid or your Medicare. There's lots of sort of safety nets that are in place for that. If that does happen, then I'm not the expert on insurance and where you might go to get it. So I can't answer that one very well. And then as far as assistive technology, the vocational rehabilitation system is very good in many places to be able to support that. There's AT loans that you can get to be able to purchase something with very, very low interest if you need it for work. And I love what Aarti said about borrowing. I mean, goodness, if you can borrow it, there are different things to be able to do that as well. And I will say that Ask Jan, it's askjan.org, I think. I might be wrong on that, but they have a whole section on adaption and different things for business. They're a great, great resource, and they actually will take a phone call. You can speak to a real person, and they would be sort of, to me, one of the expert places to go to really find out if I need this, that, or the other, then how do I get it? Where do I find it? So, yeah, Santiago, you're up.
No, I echo all of you. I think that it's a longer conversation that I'm happy to take offline. But then there's I definitely echo what both Nikki and Aarti say, especially that it's not that you start your own business and you lose all your benefits. I think that's a very good message that we can send out to the audience. And there's a lot of alternatives to how to start your business. When do you full time kind of like take income from that and that sort of thing. So echo both of them, and I think it's a great point, and happy to discuss further on.
Wow. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? We're almost out of time. We have 2
Wow.
minutes. I had so many more questions. Um, but I just want to say, really, truly, thank you all for being here. This was really informative. And I hope that people will go to the websites of all of these organizations because there's just tons of information. And I think really importantly, that opportunity to find community with others who are either in the same path that you're on or that they've gone before you. So please, please do take advantage of that. And we're going to send out information with the link to the recording, and also we'll include the links to the organizations that are here. Um, so I just want to say truly thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our ASL interpreters, and thank you to Elena, our host. Um, and of course, thank you to you for choosing to attend this career webinar. After we finish today, we're trying something new, so a survey is going to pop up. If you have some time, please take a few minutes and complete the survey. We really value your input and our searching and for your guidance and feedback. So the other thing is that also send a link to the survey in the follow-up email. So whichever way you decide to do it, please complete the survey, right? So again, I just want to say how much we appreciate you, our panelists and our participants for taking the time and being here. The important thing is for our attendees, I hope that the information that you heard today gives you another tool which you can use to sort of pursue your own career exploration and career development. So thank you, everyone, and we are done for today. Look for information for our webinar in April. But thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you
me.
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank
Cheryl,
you.
having us. Thank you,
Goodbye.
Nikki.
All
Thank
right,
you,
Thanks.
Aarti.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.